Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create an agate slice. And a bunch of you requested it after our Faux Agate Geode tutorial, and here are the pieces that we made in the tutorial. And so if you haven't seen that tutorial already, there will be a link to it in the links below the video, but that is why I'm creating an agate slice today. So we're going to be making an amethyst one today, and so these are the colours that we're going to be using, and I've done 2 test chips and baked them. And the colours that we're going to be using today are Sonnet Violet, and let's see which is the other one. The other one is Sonnet Violet, but this is the translucent version. So let me just show you the packet quickly. So Sonnet Translucent, but this is called Violet in that section, and then the other one is a Sonnet number 1, and that is Violet in that section as well. And then we're also going to be using Sonnet Translucent. And then we've got a colour recipe here where I've taken the Sonnet Violet, and this is the number 1, and I've mixed 1 part Sonnet Violet to 2 parts Sonnet Translucent. And here's what they look like when they're baked. And so you want to bake each one because there is quite a big colour difference when it is baked. And then we're also going to be using Pearl White Primer because Sonnet, I can't find any Pearl White in Sonnet, and some Sonnet Translucent. And that is what we're going to be starting with because we want to be creating the core for our agate cane, or amethyst cane I guess. So what you're going to do is you're not going to condition these. You're going to start off by just chopping them. And you don't want to condition it because it means that it's not going to stick together. You'll be able to get nice sharp angles. We're essentially creating a little bit of drusy. So you want to chop it nice and fine, like so. And you will do this with the translucent as well. And they're about equal parts translucent to equal parts pearl white. Just split them all up, make sure you go through and just get it all separated. Then pop that to the side and repeat with your Sonnet Translucent. Okay, and then when you've got them both chopped up, just take them and mix them. And the Sonnet's a bit fresher, so it's going to stick together a little bit more. That's fine. Just get it mixed up as much as you can. And then squish that together. And pick up all the little bits and pieces. Then you're going to take that and you're going to chop it again because you want to have the 2 colours mixed together a little bit more. But you don't be blending them, and this is why I'm chopping. So just chop it as fine as you can get it. And I'll probably just chop it one more time, and then that will be our core. Okay, and then when you're done, just going to roll this out into a tube. And I'm just going to twist it, and this is going to mix up those pieces just a little bit more. Okay, and then I'll just pop that back together again, and that should be good for our core. Okay. Just gonna bring that back together, and I'm going to, and I probably have around, let's see, probably have about, probably just a little bit less than 2 ounces of clay here. I have a little bit under that. But I want to make a nice big cane because I want to make a few projects out of it. So I have that at maybe about 1 inch long, and that should work. And so now we're going to start applying our pieces. And so I'm going to start with a wrap with that Cernit translucent violet. And I'm not going to worry about trimming up the sides, I want this to be random. So I'm just going to roll it up till that end there, and I'm just going to rip it off. Because we want these layers to be kind of uneven, some of them break off, so don't worry about trimming up your sides. Just with each layer, give it a little roll to smooth out any seams. And then what I like to do as well is just make sure that you don't have any air bubbles. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to just take a tool and just kind of press into these sides just to give it a little bit of a warp. And this will just kind of give it a little bit more of a ripply effect. Okay, then grab some either white paint, or you can use this alcohol ink that I'm using. I'm just gonna drop that on. And then excuse me using my fingers, but it's a pretty quick way of doing it. And the brush ends up soaking up more than anything else. And make sure to get into those little gaps that you've made. If anything, you might want to make those gaps after you've done this actually. But we just want a slight white layer. And I'm not using white paint because the Cernit doesn't really like it. It kind of goes squishy when that happens, and so I'm using this alcohol ink instead because it dries quickly and it doesn't affect the Cernit all that much. Okay, and now we just kind of got this uneven coat of just opaque white. And then we're going to move on to the next colour, which I think will probably be translucent. You want to start out with colours in the beginning. You want to start out with light colours, and then as you go through you'll gradually decrease the light colours and move on to darker colours. So I'll start out with the light translucent violet and a lot of the translucent itself, and mix in a little bit of the other colours, and then as we move on I'll use less of the translucent violet. And then just make sure to go back along those indents and just smooth, because you don't want to think any air bubbles. And also maybe make some new ones. Okay. Then I'm going to move on to the next colour, which is our mixed up colour, which is that 2-part opaque violet to 2 parts translucent. Again, I'll just wrap that up. I'm not going to be too worried about keeping a nice even layer. That bit I'm not too worried about. Okay, and then again I'm just going to gently smooth it out so there's no air bubbles. Okay, and then I'll do another layer of that white pinata ink, and then after that I'll do some translucent, and then just carry on applying the colours as you want them applied. It's completely up to you. Just make it organic, don't stress about keeping those layers nice and even. Just have some fun, it's supposed to be fun. And see what you can do. And then when we're done, we'll see how it looks by cutting it open, and then we can start assembling our project. Okay, so we're just about done. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap an outside colour. And I'm going to be using Cernit Turquoise. And I might think that that's a weird choice, but I've got a few crystals here. and that is generally the colour that appears on the outside of amethyst crystals, or at least the ones that I have. And it's a really pretty colour, so that's what I'm going to be going with. I'll just wrap that around the outside, break off the excess. Okay, this is going to roll, and then again I'm just going to press into this geode, and I am being fairly rough and kind of making holes everywhere. That's what I'm going for, because I want it to have warped lines and I want it to look really organic on the inside. Just making sure that I've got those pressed in properly. And then I will roll this back into a round and essentially create folds in the clay. Okay. Then just start rolling that flat, and it is going to create folds where the turquoise has rolled in on itself, and that's exactly what you want. And this whole thing, after all of this working, is going to be really soft. So before you do anything, or at least I will reduce it a little bit, but before you cut it, you want to put it in the freezer. So I'm not going to reduce it down tiny, I want to just reduce it down large enough that I'll be able to cut a pendant out of it, and that it's nice and flat. And then I need to freeze it, because otherwise we're going to get a smeared slice. But then again, I'm going to use a very thin blade, and I'm just going to cut off this end over here, just to give me an idea of what's happening. But then before we cut out pendants and things, we need to freeze it. There we are, that's what we've got on the inside. And while I freeze it, I just want to cut out a slice, and I'm going to pop this in the freezer, and then I'm going to heat this quickly so we can see what it looks like. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and gently mark the sides so that they're not smooth. Just like that. And then I'm also going to use a piece of greaseproof paper to just smooth the top fingerprints and things like that, because I want this to be smooth, because it's going to give me an indication of what it's going to look like. So now I'll just grab my heat gun and I'll just quickly set it. And that's the one side. Now I just want to gently pick that up and do the other side quickly. And you can see what a huge colour difference this is. So actually I'll be able to show you now. The back is still raw. So here's what it looks like raw. Here's what it looks like baked. Very different. Much more amethyst-like. So I'll just quickly do this side. Okay, and that looks like it's baked through. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I'm just going to go let that cool quickly. and then I might just give it a quick sand while we wait for our cane in the freezer, just to give us an idea of what we're working with. Okay, and here is how it looks. So hopefully you can see how shiny that is now, and also hopefully you can see how translucent it is as well. It's a little hard for me to show you that, but it is translucent now, and the other side's finished too. So it's quite a big difference from what this looks like. The layers definitely aren't as visible, and the outside has darkened a bit, which is exactly what I wanted. And so I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So our cane is now out of the freezer and is ready to use, as you can see. So all I want to do now is I want to grab my nice flexible blade, and I want to start trimming thin but not too thin pieces. I messed that one up. Just get rid of that. And actually I want to get it onto a secure platform where it's not going to move. I'm just busy trimming up to make it nice and even. Okay, let me just get that out the way. And zoom out as well. Okay, so first what I want to do is I just want to clean up the front here. And when it's just been in the freezer, it's going to have some condensation on it, and so it's going to be a little on the slippery side. But it's cooled down all of that work process, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now I'm just going to press that down over there, and that should have flattened out. And then what I want to do is I want to just set it on top of something so that it's not going to be moving all over the place. Let me see if I can get it to stick to the tile. And my solution to that is going to be blue tack, or what we call it in South Africa, ticky tack. So I'm going to face this towards me, and then I'm going to pop tic tac on either side. The tic tac's not going to actually stick to the cane. It's just going to keep it in place while I trim, so it's not going to be slippery. And this should help me trim out nice even pieces. And now cut with a little bit of extra so that you can sand it, because we're going to be sanding it pretty aggressively to make sure that we have a nice clean geode. And I'll just move the tic tac down, but you can see it doesn't stick, so I prefer to use it to leftover clay, whereas leftover clay will probably stick to our piece. And that was a little thin. Okay, and don't worry about the shape, that we can fix later. Right now I just want to trim out as many pieces as I can, and that should be enough for now. I'm going to pop this off to the side because I might want to reduce that. And as for these ones, what we want to do is you just want to gently tap in the sides to get nice and even. And I think we're probably going to be making a bracelet with these, so I want to stretch them out a bit. At this point, if you're careful and gentle with it, you can gently mould it into the shape that you want. There we go. I want it kind of in a rough oval shape, like so. And then when you've got that, grab a piece of greaseproof paper, or 2 pieces to be exact, and burnish. And this is going to set both, it's going to fix up both sides so they're nice and smooth. And you'll do this with all the pieces. And then just rotate and do on the other side. Okay. And then I like to bake it on a piece, so I'll just leave it on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press along these sides. Actually, let me remove this from the baking paper and I'll redo it in a minute. But for now I'm going to be just texturing the sides. And this is a fun project. You can do it with your kids or your grandkids. It's very fun, it's easy, it's got a lot of interesting, fun things to play around with. It's not too technical, so if they make a mistake, or if you make a mistake, it doesn't really matter all that much. And I'll just do it on the other side as well. This was actually one of my first pieces I ever made, so I'm gonna go and have a look through some of my old beads and see if I can find you my first agate slices that I made. I do apologise about the scraping on the tile, I'm trying to prevent it from doing that. Okay, and there's our slice, so it goes from looking like that to this, which is a little bit more realistic. Then just place it on your piece of greaseproof paper and burnish again. And this is just to flatten it out so our sanding is easier later on. Okay. And it should be nice and smooth with no fingerprints. And I've got a piece of paper off to the side here. And so I'm just carefully going to peel this off. And I'm going to pop it on the piece of paper. And I'll repeat with all of these. And then another thing that I want to do is I would like to make some earrings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a section of our geode. And I want to reduce it. So I'm just going to press down. And I'll basically just reduce it and then I'll repeat the process that I'm going through with some of the larger pieces. Just reduce it. And it's going to be a little harder to do that now since, well, we've put this in the freezer so it's a little cold. But it should reduce down fairly easily. Okay, and then I'm going to go and shape those, tap the sides, burnish them, and then pop them all onto a piece of flat plain printing paper on a ceramic tile into the oven for around 40 minutes at Cernet's recommended temperature. And I'm only going to be doing it 40 minutes because they're all pretty thin and so you don't really need to go for a whole hour. Okay, and let's see how that looks. Now it's just a smaller version. Here, and I'll cut out a whole bunch of those and make some pieces from them. Okay, so here are the ones that I made around about 4 years ago. Went digging through my box of old scrap beads and I just thought I'd bring them out to show you. So you can see there's quite an improvement, but the basic idea is there. The veins basically just needed to be quite a bit thinner and I needed to take out the black. But that's where the idea came from. So you can see that I've improved, but I thought it would be cool to let you see where the idea actually started. Okay, so another thing that I just forgot to mention is that you can also put drusy on the inside here, like what we did in this project, which is what I would like to do. So instead of leaving it whole, like what I've done over here, I want to create a little hole. And all you do is you take a craft knife and just roughly trim out a center. And don't trim beyond the pearl white, you want to leave some of that. So just trim it like that. And then you can also go in and just gently texture the outside. I mean, you don't even have to put drusy in, you can just leave it exactly like that, so long as you've gently used your tool to give it a little bit of a rougher edge. But I think the drusy will look quite nice. I was thinking copper would look quite nice. We could use silver too. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and I'll do that with the smaller ones as well, because I just think that it looks even more realistic. Because unfortunately the pearl white and translucent doesn't look quite the same as what a usual agate geode center is, so I find it's better to just hollow that out for the most part and then replace it with drusy, which also looks better anyway. So once I've done all of those, then I will bake them. Okay, so our pieces are now out of the oven, and so I have a whole bunch of them, and most of them are still wet because I had to cool them down. You can see we have a whole bunch here. Okay, and so now I've done a little test with the drusy because I wanted to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. So here's what it looks like when it comes straight out of the oven. And I've done a few tests and I've decided glitter works the best, and the others, they're just a bit too large for it, but I think the glitter works really nicely. So that's what we're going to do. So all you do is you just quickly dry your tile, and I'm going to just be using Fimo gel today, no particular reason. You can use any translucent liquid clay you want. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to drip a bit onto our tile, and then use a liquid clay dedicated brush to brush around the inside of my piece, so that it's nice and covered in liquid clay. Just make sure that you covered that properly. And then just quickly run your finger over the top to remove any liquid clay that might have gotten on the top. And then use a piece of deli paper or just plain printing paper and grab your chosen glitter. And I've just got some nail art glitter. I'm just going to tap it inside there. Now just tapping to get rid of the excess. And then use your finger to just smooth over the top to make them flat, because we still need to sand this. But there we are. Now you've got a nice sparkly inside that looks like drusy. And that's what I'm going to do for the little ones. Now I'm going to go and play around a little bit with the larger ones, because I have a feeling that this might be a bit too small for them. So I'll come back in just a minute and show you what I'm going to do with the larger ones. Okay, and so what I'm going to do for the large ones is I'm going to actually use some of my drusy flakes for them, because they're a little bit larger and so they'll look better with that, whereas I've tried the drusy flakes on these ones and they just look too large. So all you do with that is you will grab your chosen piece, quickly make sure it is dry, and I'm not sure if we're even going to need to sand these. I've got them pretty flat and we're just going to be dipping them in some varathane. So I might end up giving them just a light sand to get rid of any residues, like some of them have a little bit of paper residue because they stuck to the paper in the oven. So I might just give them a little bit of a sand, but if you need to do any heavy sanding, it's probably better to just wait to put your drusy flakes on, but these ones I'm not going to do too bad of sanding. You can see on the back here it needs just a little bit. So there we are, we've dripped resin on. Now I'll just spray over my flakes. And I'm doing this on a piece of deli paper again. I'm just going to tip that on top, lift up, and then tap to get rid of the excess, and then you got to smooth off the rest because it's got to lie flat, so you don't want any bits overhanging. Pretty okay with it. I might see if I can stick on some more, and if it didn't work the first time you can always give it a second dunk. But there, I'm pretty happy with that. And when you're done with all of these, pop them into the oven for another half an hour or so, just to bake the liquid clay that is holding these drusy bits on. Okay, so my pieces are out of the oven and they're looking really nice. And so now what we want to do is we want to just drill them. And I've already got one started over here. And I've actually got some guide holes started. And all I did was I used a smaller part of the drill. So all you do basically is you grab your drill. And this is the same for if you did have a guide hole or if you didn't. You'll just take your drill and drill through. I just did a guide hole quickly because it makes this segment quicker. So you'll just take your drill and just drill straight through. And it takes a little while to do that. So that's why I did a guide hole. And you'll do that on each side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take these holes and we're just going to do that to all of our pieces. So you'll drill the ones that you need for a bracelet, which are going to need a hole on either side, and the ones that are for a keyring you just drill straight at the top, and the same for the earrings. And then what we are going to do is we're going to just string these onto wire so that we can dip them in varnishing. Okay, so they're all strung on, and I've just put kinks between the wire so that basically when I dip them in they're going to be somewhat separate, and I can separate them more after I have dipped them. So I'll just get just that wire there, so that's sitting right. Okay, so I'll just pop them to the side, and I'm going to bring over my varnishing, which is what we're going to be using. And you'll just grab all of these and just dunk the entire thing in there, and you'll have plenty of time to separate them all. And then just let everything drip off. Like so. And just give them a few dunks and just let that drain off. And then you'll let that sit for about an hour or so. And then you'll go and you'll dunk it maybe 1 or 2 more times. And I'm just going and putting these back in the right place. But there we are. I'm going to go and let that finish dripping, and I'm going to go hang it up somewhere with the 2 wires so that they are all separate from each other for an hour. Dunk them maybe 2 more times after the layers dried, so I have about 3 layers, and then we can start our assembly. Okay, so our pieces are just about finished drying, and so you can see they're nice and shiny. And you're going to have chosen each one's your favourite side on each one for the most part, because one side's going to be sitting against your hand and the other side is going to be facing up, and so you want to choose the side that you like the best. So I've just taken them off the wire, and I've also gone and made sure that all of the holes are clear. Some of them I might need to go back and do. I might have missed one over there, but for the most part I've gone back and made sure that all of the holes are clean. So we're going to start by making our little bracelet. So let's remove the earrings quickly. There we go. And then I'm just going to go back through and check, and if I have a hole that is not clean, I'll just quickly pop my drill through there, and it should pop open pretty quickly. You're just essentially pushing that varnish out of the way. There we go. Okay, now we're ready to start assembling. So you're going to need jump rings, and I want to see how small I can go with these. So I've got some over here. I'm not sure if these are going to be too small. If not, I've got a larger one. Let's see, pop one through. Yeah, these ones are going to be too small. They'll work for the earrings though, but they're going to be too small. So I'll put them off to the side, and I'll use these larger ones. Okay, I'll just pop a jump ring through, grab my next one, pop a jump ring through there, and close off my jump ring. And then we've got those two connected, and the jump ring is going to allow it to curve, as you can see. And then I'm just going to continue linking all of them up, because I've made sure that I've got enough to create the right size bracelet. So I'm just going to carry on connecting them all up, and then we'll be able to assemble our bracelets by adding our clasp and things like that. Okay, and here is how it looks. Now I think it looks nice as a bracelet, but I was looking at it and how lovely it looks when it curves, and I was wondering, why don't we do a necklace? And so yes, I'm going off track again. So we're going to be making a necklace, and now what I'm going to be using is some chain that I've had in my stash for a while, and this is a Byzantine chain. And if you're looking on how to create it, I highly recommend this book. Let me just zoom out quickly so you can see. There, I highly recommend this classic chainmail jewellery book, and you can see all the beautiful pieces. And this is where they show you how to create this Byzantine necklace, and this is where I learnt how to make that chain. So if you're looking for a tutorial on that, I do recommend that book. But anyway, I have these pieces, and so all I'm going to do is I'm now going to link them together with my linked pieces of amethyst. Just trying to get this to go in. Don't know why I'm having so much trouble. There we go. There we go, that's one side linked. And then you'll do the same with the other side. And I've already got the clasps attached. And jump ring jewellery for some can be quite taxing, but for me I find it very relaxing, so you might actually end up enjoying it. So play around with it, and who knows, some of you might actually have done it already. But if you didn't want to do this, you could also just make more of the pieces of agate and have them link round, and you could also possibly just have some chain and use that. There we are, that's going to create a cute necklace. There we are, so you can see that. And now we're going to move on to the bracelet for these. And essentially it's basically the exact same. I'm just going to go and link them all together. Okay, and so here is how your bracelet's going to look. And I just realised I put the two wrong end a wrong end on one of them. Let me just grab that. There we go. Put one of the both ends on each end of the bracelet. There we go. There we go, that's how your bracelet's going to look. So I'll put that off to the side. Then let's do the 2 earrings quickly. You're going to need a jump ring for each one. So just pop that through your loop right at the top. There we go. And then you're going to need a smaller jump ring, and I'll just grab one of those other ones that we had around here. There we go. And just bring that back inside. Grab your other smaller jump ring and slide your ear wire on. And there's your earring. And repeat with this one. Quickly open up your jump ring, pop it through the loop, grab your other smaller jump ring, and pop your ear wire on. And there are your 2 earrings. And now finally we're going to do a key ring. All we need is another jump ring. Slip that in. Grab your key ring, close the jump ring, slide it in. And there you are. That is a cute key ring. Okay, and that is it for this week's tutorial. And so I do hope that you guys enjoyed it and that you got lots of ideas from today's tutorial, as we did a bracelet, we did some earrings, we did a necklace and a key ring. So there's lots that you can do with this tutorial. You can also try doing rings and all sorts of other things with this tutorial. So I do hope that you liked it. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought, and if you do want to post photos, please let me know on Facebook. Just tag me in the post, or even better yet, please join my group, Jessama Tutorials Polymer Clay Community. There will be a link in the description below the video, and when you post photos on there I am able to see every single one. So that would be great if you guys could do that. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now. Thank you.